The organic food movement is blossoming across America, which is great news for both people and the planet. But to make the most of these new decisions we have, it can be confusing and time-consuming. That's why Dr. Alan Greene created his organic prescription. He's a pediatrician at Lucile Packard Children's Hospital at Stanford University. He's a noted author, and he's an expert in organic nutrition. And he wants to make it easy for all of us to get the most out of every meal, every day.
With organic foods becoming more available, people are asking me more all the time, which are the most important foods to buy organic? You know, families want to stretch their food dollar. When does buying organic really make sense? When doesn't it? And it's a good question, because every bite of food we eat is an investment in the vitality of our body and in the planet. Or it's a debt that we're taking out, or oftentimes both. So I want to help you make your investments really count. And that's why I've created Dr. Greene's Organic Prescription. It's my very simple top 10 list of where I think you can make the biggest impact on your own health, your family's health, and the health of the planet. Each of these 10 items can make a huge difference. But here's the thing, you don't have to do all 10. I've put them in an intentional order. Just start with number 1. And if that's all you do, that will make a big difference. And if you feel ready to do more, move on to number 2, and so on. And you know what? If for your family, number 3 makes more sense, or it's easier than number 2, I don't have a problem with that either. This is to help you make wise investment decisions. Now, you may have seen a list that shows up in a lot of places of the 12 fruits and vegetables most likely to be contaminated with pesticides. This is a great resource. It was put together by the Environmental Working Group based on testing by the USDA, where they test fruits and vegetables as they're eaten by people in the general population. There's no discrimination made between which pesticides are the most toxic and which ones aren't. It's a great list. But my list only shares 2 items in common with that one, for a couple reasons. 1, fruits and vegetables are not the only things that we eat. And 2, pesticides on the plate are only part of the organic story. It turns out, did you know that about half of our pesticide exposures come through our water? So what organic food choices will reduce pesticides there? And I've created this list with a lot of things in mind. First, where do we increase the nutrient quality of our food by choosing organic? Where do we get more in what we eat? Also, how do we reduce pesticides? But beyond that, how do we reduce most effectively the use of synthetic hormones in our food? How do we reduce the routine use of antibiotics as growth promoters? And organic farming doesn't allow the use of genetically modified seed or cloned animals. Where do we make the biggest impact there? And another area I really care about is reducing the use of chemical fertilizers. Chemical fertilizers are petroleum-based. They deplete our precious resources and contribute to global warming, the greenhouse gases. When most people think of oil use, they think of the automobile, and for good reason. We use a lot of oil in our cars. But we use about the same amount of oil in our agricultural system. On a typical farm, about 40% of the oil use comes through the pesticides and fertilizers, oil-based pesticides and fertilizers that are used. We can make a huge difference with strategic choices. Now, the good news is already, today, more than 4 million acres have been devoted in the U.S. to growing our food in a responsible, smart, sustainable, organic way. And that's new. As recently as 1990, there were under 1 million acres. And in just 12 years, it doubled by 2002. In the last 3 years, it's doubled again. But now it's up to us. The marketplace is waiting to see how are consumers going to respond. What things are we going to choose? And if we make strategic choices together, I believe we can keep that doubling to where it becomes a big part of our food supply, and where we begin to reclaim our streams and our soil and our own bodies, our future. So let's get started.